Shields up, Ironbreakers, and welcome back to Monster Hunter Wilds. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you an inconsistency that I've encountered while playing with focus mode, and I would very much like to get your feedback on it. I've already asked several other content creators as well as friends of mine that play the game, and they all seem to support the conclusion that I'm going to be presenting in this video. With that out of the way, I would just like to apologize because I know that the setup of the recording today looks a little bit different. It is made this way so that you can see all of the button inputs of the controller that I am using. And I know that there's better ways of doing it, but I run a 2-PC streaming setup, and that has a couple of inconveniences when it comes to showcasing your inputs and whatnot. But anyways, let's not get lost in the sauce. So I want you to try this example out for yourself so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Choose whatever weapon you happen to play, but I'm going to be starting with the greatsword because the greatsword is one of the most obvious ways of showcasing what I'm talking about. So for this particular example, I'm going to have focus mode set to toggle, which is in the second page of the controllers. You can come in here and you can go aim focus mode, and you can then go and set it to toggle. Right now I have to set it to toggle for melee mode, and I swap between this depending on which weapon I'm playing because we're still getting used to and creating muscle memory around focus mode, right? But anyway, if you have focus mode when you are using the greatsword, one of the things that you'll notice is that you're going to be able to aim your camera with the left stick. Like if you notice my controller right now, notice I'm not moving the right stick, I'm only moving the left stick. And I can keep adjusting the camera of, to aim the attack of the greatsword using the left stick, which is a really useful thing. I mean, obviously it makes sense because if you're charging the attack with your thumb on top of triangle right there, you're not going to be able to move the camera using the right stick. I mean, you can if you do like a claw grip, like I can show you. We can go like this, and now I'm using the right stick to move, but it's annoying, and the left stick is much more elegant in those situations because your character can't really move. So this just makes sense, right? But there are other situations where your character can't move, and aiming the camera would be useful. So I'm going to use a very inefficient attack with the greatsword, but this is just to prove a point, right? If we spam circle, you're going to get this attack, this set of quick attacks for the greatsword, right? And you'd think, well, I can't really input directions or anything while I'm doing this. I mean, you can input directions right up until the point where you start doing the attack, but after that, your direction inputs don't really mean anything, right? It's not like you're actually doing anything. It's only right before you start the attack. Once the attack begins, it would be useful to be able to turn the camera because like you're going this direction, say the monster moves to the left, it would be useful to be able to turn that using the left stick because as you are mashing circle, you're not going to be able to do the right stick unless, once again, we go into the territory of claw grips. Then, yeah, you can kind of like mash and move the camera around. So this is also to show that this is not like a limitation of the game. Like the game is not limiting your ability to move the camera. As a matter of fact, if I swap to mouse and keyboard, which I swap to right now, and I start mashing on the left mouse button, that's going to give us the same combo that I was doing, right? But now I can just turn the camera freely because I'm playing with mouse and keyboard. So I can turn the camera as much as I want. So it's not like being able to change the camera direction there would be considered a cheat by the game or anything like that. It would just be a convenience feature to be able to use it on the left stick. Now the thing is, a lot of you guys might say, well, the developers made it just so that when you are doing charge attacks, that makes sense because you're rooted in place and whatnot, and those are the only opportunities you're going to have to move the camera. Anything more than that, skill issue, sort it out, blah, 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 right? Okay, but what if there's an example that breaks those rules? You see this weapon that's on my sacred over here? That right there is a lance. Let's see what this looks like with the lance. All right, so we got the lance out. Let's see if we can turn the camera. We're in focus mode still. You can see the targeting reticule right there in the middle of the screen. Let's see if when we start poking around, we can actually turn the camera using left stick. Okay, we can't, but that makes sense because this particular move right here with the triangle attack actually has a movement component to it when you are in focus mode. As you can see, we can strafe sideways. Okay, what about if we do circle attacks? Oh! Notice, once again, notice the controller below my character. I'm just using left stick to adjust the camera. I am not using the right stick at all. and I can turn the camera freely as much as I want. And at this point, I was like, okay, so wait a minute. It's not just charged attacks. There are other attacks that can do this too. Then wouldn't it make sense for all the weapons to be able to do this to some degree? So long as your attack doesn't have a movement component to it, you should be able to turn the camera with all of the weapons. But you can't. That's an inconsistency that we currently have in the focus mode, and I consider it to be somewhat of an important inconsistency, but at the same time, I want to get more feedback from the community. Like I said, I asked a lot of my content creator friends and a lot of my other friends that just play the game, and all of them agree that, yeah, more weapons should be able to do this. A very good example is actually going to be the Charge Blade. You guys are going to be like, well, why the Charge Blade? But there's more, and here's the thing. Each of you that mains a different weapon out there can think of a situation where this would be useful. Like in my case, for example, it'd be super useful when I'm doing the Worm Stake Full Blast to be able to move the camera with the left stick so that I wouldn't have to take my fingers away from the plate buttons while still moving the camera. But, you know, you guys might not be aware of what the hell I'm talking about. But the Charge Blade's a little bit more popular than the Gunlance, so it should be something that people can kind of relate to. So, if we pull out the Charge Blade, you'll notice that, once again, we go into focus mode. If we are doing the charge double slash, we can move the camera. So, it stays consistent when it comes to charging attacks. So, as long as it's a charging attack, you can move the camera using the left stick. But then if we just start mashing triangle, we're going to be rooted in place because you can't really do anything when you're mashing triangle. You can see that I'm wriggling the left stick all over the place and nothing is happening, right? Why then can I not adjust the camera? And you're like, well, because you're committed to the animation. Okay, in that case, what if I swap the mouse and keyboard again? Oh, turns out I'm not committed at all. Turns out that I can just, you know, rotate it as much as I want. And again, you can go ahead and you can claw grip it if you're comfortable with that. But I just don't think that claw gripping is a solution right now when we have a much more elegant solution in the form of focus mode, which is clearly applied in the Lance. Another really good example, and this one's even more important, is if you happen to go into axe mode. For those of you that know how Savage Axe works, the axe starts spinning around and you hold the circle button, for instance, to do your input for spinning the axe around, and you have to keep it pressed in order to hit multiple times. So at this point, it gets even more awkward to keep circle pressed and then trying to rotate the camera. So why can't I rotate the camera with the left stick? It's not like anything changes about the, you know, the movements that I'm doing with the Charge Blade, because I'm just rooted in place. You guys are like, okay, but maybe they don't want you rotating the camera while you're doing that. Well, why then can I do it if I just hit the right click on the mouse button? And I know that PC bros that just play with mouse and keyboard are going to be like, mouse and keyboard confirmed, superior method of input. And guess what? This time around, it is very much true because PC most definitely has an advantage, even when aiming just with melee weapons, which has never been the case in the whole history of Monster Hunter. It's an interesting topic. It's an interesting thing that I found, and I'm considering if this would be something that maybe I can forward to Jono. But before I do that, I would very much like to get your feedback. Am I right about this? Should more weapons benefit from this feature? How would your weapon benefit from this feature? Let me know in the comments section down below. I want to hear from you guys. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz, and I'm going to go back to creating some more videos. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.